Computer Science A, Unit 4, Iteration, Lesson 1, While Loops. Objectives. At the conclusion of this lesson, you should be able to write code using while loops to repeat blocks of commands and understand that a while loop repeats as long as a Boolean condition is true. While loops have two components, the condition and the code to execute if the condition is true, just like if statements. The difference is that a while loop will keep executing the code over and over as long as the condition is true. So here we have x set to 1, and that happens here. While x is less than or equal to 5, that's true, we're going to print 1. If I can do this, there we go. We'll print 1. Then it increments x by 1, so that's where we cross this off, and we're up to 2. We come back up. 2 is less than or equal to 5, so we're going to come down, system.out.print line x. We print 2 on the next line. We already did the 1. And then we come down here, and we increment x by 1. So we cross that out, and now we have the 3. 3 is less than or equal to 5, so we output 3. And we have a line return. Then we increment x by 1, and we're up to 4. 4 is less than or equal to 5, so we output the 4. Then we come down here, x plus plus, x becomes 5. Now what happens? 5 is less than or equal to 5. So we're going to output, we're going to output 5. Then we're going to increment x again to 6. Finally, when x is 6, it is not less than or equal to 5, it's false, and so we start executing with whatever command is here. Why is the code below very appropriate for the song? Let's see. It outputs, "This is the song that never ends. It just goes on and on, my friend." Some people started singing it not knowing what it was, and they'll continue singing it forever just because this is the song that never ends, and on and on. Notice that it looks like we want to sing this 10 times. However, this just says while x is less than 10. X is set equal to 1 right here. So we have x, and we set it equal to 1. And then we compare it to 10. 1 is less than 10, so we output these lines. And then 1 is still less than 10, and we output these lines. And 1 is still less than 10, and we output these. Ooh. We never change x. X never gets changed. Therefore, this is the song that never ends. It is an infinite loop. When using while loops, it is very important to make sure that they will stop eventually. Otherwise, we have what we call an infinite loop, meaning our program will keep doing the same thing until we find some way to shut it down. It is also important to note that the condition is evaluated before each iteration of the loop, including the first time. Okay? This means the while loop only executes if the condition is true to begin with. So here, x is equal to 10. While x is greater than 0, that is true. And x is less than 5, that is false. We jump right down here. This loop will never run as the condition fails the first time through. There is a different loop called a do until, where you do all of this until and the check is made at the end of the loop, that thereby guaranteeing that the loop will run once. That is a do until. This is a while. Scope of variables. Another important consideration with loops is scope. Java is an efficient programming language, and it likes to save memory. So it does this thing called garbage collection to get rid of things that are no longer needed. Java is not a hoarder. When we declare a variable inside a loop or an if statement, its scope is that loop or if statement only, and it doesn't exist outside of the loop or the if statement. So notice I have x. X exists, starts existing here, and exists all the way through. While x is greater than -1, it is C. C only exists in this little area. Okay, so when I come down here and I try to say you entered C numbers, because I'm counting the numbers, this will cause an error, because once you're done right here, once you close this door, anything declared inside these curly braces no longer exists. Garbage collection came and took it. So you will wind up with an error. It doesn't know what C is. Take a minute and look at that. Okay, basically what happens is C is there. Now all this gets blocked off after we get out of the loop, and I can't see C anymore. I don't know what C is. C got destroyed. Tracing while loops. Trace the following while loops to determine the first and last number printed to the screen. Well, you start out, where's my little thing? You start out with num, okay? So here's num, and it's 21. While num is less than 33, it is less than 33, we're going to output the num. So we print out num, which is 21, and then we increment. So now we've got 22. Is 22 less than 33? Yes. So we're going to output that one. And notice that this keeps going on until we get to 32. 32 is less than 33, so we output 32. Then we increment num to 33. 33 is not less than 33, so we don't output anything. Our first number output is 21, and our last number output is 32. Notice, had this been an equals, then we would have printed 33. Try this one. Pause the video for a moment and trace it through. See if you can get the first and the last number printed. Okay. The number is 21. While num is less than 33, we increment num. Boom. And then we print it. Boom. And then we come back up through. 22 is less than 33, so we increment to 23, and we output 23. We increment to 24 and output to 24, and so on until we get to 32. 32 is less than 33, so we increment it. It's 30. It is, whoops. Okay. This should be 33. Whoop. Look at that. See, we'll fix that right there. Not 333. So we incremented 32 to 33, and then we output 33. Then it comes around, 33 is less than num, okay? And it gets output. So the print line, oh, I know what that was. My bad. Okay, so the previous one was updated and it printed, but 33 also gets printed because we update it before we print, and then we check. So the first number printed was 22, the last number was 33. Try this one, pause the video, and see if you get the first and the last num. Did you try it? Okay, num is 13,475. While it's not equal to 0, woohoo, we're going to do num is set to num divided by 10. So num starts out as 13,475. We don't print anything. We divide it by 10. So it's 1,347, and then we print that number. Okay? All right. And then we keep going and going. Oop, don't want to do that. And going and going. Our first number printed is 1,347, and our last number printed is 0. And I forgot to actually put this in here. 47, boom. That one should print there. Okay? After we decrement it. Look good? Pause the video and run through it again for yourself. Make sure you know how to trace through. Okay, that ends lesson 1. If you have questions, make sure that you bring them to class. Make sure you can trace through some simple loops, knowing what the variables are before they start, when they're in the loop, and if they exist when they get out of the loop.